This is Nick from Agency Acquisitions, and today I'm going to walk you through a case study of how we took a client from negative 70K plus EBITDA all the way to 103K positive EBITDA. That's $170,000 swing, and we did it in under 3 months. This was for a creative and web agency, but here's the thing. This works if you have an SEO agency, digital agency, web, creative. It doesn't matter. As long as you're selling your agency as a service, I don't care if it's MRR, retainers, project-based, this system works. So we've been working with this client for about 3 months, and they are a creative and web agency. So that's primarily what they do. And ultimately, what their problem was at the very beginning was profitability. So they were actually losing 15 to 20% in EBITDA per month. And this equaled basically around 78K-ish average, because like this is over the course of multiple months. But the quarter before they started working with us, they were losing around 78K per month average at the very beginning, right? So like this was obviously a huge problem for them. And the long and the short of it is that by the time we were working together in about 3 months, 3 to 4 months, we basically went from this to actually getting an EBITDA of 19.8%. And this translated into them making 103K profit in EBITDA. So the main problem that this company was actually experiencing was actually like a couple things. So number one, their data was not in order. And what this actually meant, translated, was that they ended up in a position where they were overstaffed, but more importantly, spending too much on contractors. And this was the main problem that they were having. In addition to this, the data that they did have, which was okay, it just wasn't organized well, didn't allow them to hold people accountable. So there was no accountability for their staff. And no accountability means less results for clients and for the agency. Because what ultimately matters is that in an environment with accountability, we have what I call triple net wins. Win for client, agency, and self, meaning employee. And when we align these things all together, what the result is that this alignment creates the results that the agency ultimately wants to have, because now they're sustainable. Because if the client is winning only, the agency's not winning, the person's not winning, that's not sustainable. If the client and agency is winning, but the individual is not winning, as in the employee, it's also not sustainable, because people will not put forth that effort and they will not be motivated. It's only when all three parties win that it becomes sustainable. The third problem basically was that they were in a position where they had some ongoing long-term clients, but the consistency of them was not all there. Meaning, because this was primarily creative and web focused, they would have clients that, for example, did business with them 8 months of the year or 6 months of the year. And the primary issue they were facing is that they couldn't really consistently sell those clients on doing ongoing work with them. So basically ongoing work was the issue, was actually the one of the biggest issues here. To solve for this, we actually need a 3-tiered system. So the challenge that occurs here is that these things look like disparate problems, but they're actually one thing after another that actually feeds into the one previous. So how I would lay this out is that there was 3 core solves, right? So first of all, we needed to actually, so we basically had to create and implement dashboards, and we had to create a roadmap of accountability at LT level plus management. So leadership level and management. And then the third one that we had to do was upsell and client management procedures, right? So basically these things look like separate items, but the thing is that they're not. They feed into each other, right? So when we create dashboards, we create them with the explicit purpose of being able to hold people accountable with them. Once people know what they're accountable for, we can make them and encourage them to take action on ways that we can upsell client and manage clients properly. And then these things, because we're doing them well or poorly, we can figure out how we're doing, and it feeds back into the loop. So this actually creates an iterative loop that has to start somewhere, and where it has to start is up here. This is where we have to start the actual process. The reason that this is number one is because we need to know what's actually going on by creating and implementing these dashboards. So this gives us accurate telemetry of what's actually happening. Upside of this is the fact that this actually enables us to have no blind spots. Okay, so I want you to remember that. Like, this enables us to have very few, if any, blind spots if we do this properly. When we take this and we create this roadmap of accountability, right? So this means that every single role in the company has objectives and metrics by role, by individual, that people are now responsible for. We've now created a way where people know if they're doing a good job or if they're not doing a good job quantifiably, okay? Because they know the numbers, the dashboards give them the numbers, and then they know what they're responsible for because we told them you're responsible for 1, 2, and 3. These 3 objectives measured by these metrics can be found in the dashboard, okay? This is number 2. The reason that this is number 3 over here and last is because when you do this change process of adding and making client management and retention systems and upsell systems and referral systems more robust, it results in more work because we're going to change the way that we do it, and we're generally going to make things a little bit more in depth. And that's going to require people to change their behavior. But they have no incentive to change their behavior until they understand that they're missing. And why do they know that they're missing? Well, because we have the dashboards, they know what they're responsible for now, and now we are giving them to the solution to a problem, right? Just because they work for us and they're our employees doesn't mean that they're going to solve a problem that in their head doesn't exist, because that's a waste of time and that's a waste of effort. They're not going to do it. So what these 2 elements do, the roadmap and of accountability and the dashboards do, is that it actually creates a problem that then management, us, fixes by giving them the solution to the problem. And then what happens is that when we give them the solution, instead of having to change manage it and having to drag people through it and like get resistance and all of these other things, people are excited and are going to execute this, because then it's going to reflect in the numbers and help them get what they actually want, which is raises, promotions, feeling good about the job that they're doing, because now they have the feedback from the dashboards. And this creates this iterative loop that never stops. I'm going to break out some of the wins here. So the dashboard created some very specific wins. Number 1, we identified that we had too many people working on things, right? Specifically contractors. And the total amount of money saved here alone was in the vicinity of $37,000. That's just contractors. We also found that there was too many staff members as well, even with this work allocated back in-house. Now, it was the choice of the organization not to downsize people because, sales pipelines, things like that were looking positive, and so they held off. But that's just the savings that we had right there on this. Because we did a P&L analysis as part of the dashboard, and like dashboard pulls certain elements from the P&L, we also knew that we were overspending on other key specific items that were not needed. So basically, there was a recommendation made very early on for sales, general, and administrative SG&A savings, and this actually equaled another $40K worth of savings. Okay, so we're already at $37K of the savings of 78 that they were losing per month, right? So we're already pretty darn close. Within 1,000, we're already taking them to break even. Now, the extra 103 came from a couple different places. So this roadmap of accountability thing, what this generated is a couple things. So for one, it actually generated internal clarity, okay? So people actually knew how they were doing. Managers knew how they were doing. Leaders could hold managers accountable, right? Ownership specifically could hold the leadership and managers accountable. And what this did is that it got people very clear on what the top priorities of the business were: client retention, client upsells, client results, and productivity. Said shortly, client retention, like maintaining LTV high, client results, and productivity. Those were the top 3 things, okay? Everyone that was billable then understood that. With that mandate, people were asked to actually bring back ideas of how we were going to do this, okay? And what ended up happening was that people came back with a series of ideas and we managed those. And what we actually did was take our already existing system that we were going to put in anyway, which was the client retention systems. These were things that we already had ready because I brought them with me. And basically we took some of those ideas, we morphed a couple of the items and then launched it, right? What ended up happening is that we upsold within the first month of this process an extra $50,000. So this is just upsells in first month was 50K, but it wasn't 50K one-time revenue. It was 50K for the next 6 months per month. So this equals 300K over 6 months. The second thing it did, so like that was the first month, because basically there's a process that I put into place that we ask for referrals, and there's a specific way of doing it. We're doing specific steps beforehand. We do a meeting that has a very specific agenda. We're bringing very specific ideas to the table, and then we upsell the client in those. An additional point is that we actually got 3 referrals that were worth to us about 20K per month. And this was for about actually 9 months. So this is actually 180K in total revenue over 9 months. On the second month, we ran this exact same process because we basically ran it with half the clients first and half the clients second. We ended up getting another 30K plus out of this in monthly revenue. And this basically took us to the culmination of that 100K plus. What in essence happened is that their clients went from working with them somewhat inconsistently to now we had commitments from almost every single one of them every single month for the next 6 months. And we would then, our plan is to now basically repeat this process every 3 to 4 months to ensure that we permanently have 6 months full from all of our clients rather than having spotty revenue on a per client basis. So in total, what ended up happening is that we got this 100K plus in savings. It was like around 103 in total, slash upsells. And, you know, basically between the savings, between the upsells, et cetera, we bridged the gap between losing 70K plus per month into making over 100K per month. Now, how do we do this? Like, I can't really show you people's P&Ls because of privacy. And, you know, if I was working with you, you don't really want me to share your financial data either. But the system that I generally follow 90% of the time, because again, this is customized on a per need basis, is this. And what we did, and what I just walked you through, is exactly this. We figured out what needed to be done through the right data, having the right dashboards, and having objective dashboards as one pillar. The next item was having objective clarity here, and then task clarity through a RACI matrix to generate that objective / task clarity that then can then be combined alongside of the dashboards here. I'm just going to draw this out really quickly. What ends up happening is that we create a system where objective plus dashboards equal objective dashboards. So now everybody knows whether or not they're succeeding within the business or not. This is frontline staff as well as managers. Each one of these pillars generates a win. That's why this has an arrow to team alignment, efficiency, and savings, meaning more money to the bottom line. Same thing with objective clarity and task clarity. This generates team alignment, efficiency, and savings. This side over here enables us to then clearly work on and accentuate our SOPs in a way that is in alignment with objectives and task clarity, which then drives more alignment, efficiency, and savings. And on the dashboard side, it's great that we have the numbers, but how do we qualitatively hold people accountable? Well, we need to make our management systems more robust. And when we do that, we get more team alignment, efficiency, and savings. This is the foundation. So the thing that is important to realize about all of this is that this imaginary line here that I just drew, this is the foundation of the business, okay? What is the foundation? The data, the objective clarity, and the management systems. Then you can work on things that are going to move the needle even more. Why? Because when this foundation is rock solid, all the things that you do up here, doesn't matter what they are. And we, by the way, the phase 2 items, we figure this out in real time. Why? Because we have the dashboards. The dashboards allow us to figure out what are the things that are going to move the needle in the future, expanding our client LTV, and coaching and training the team in order to make them happen. This is the flywheel. So once you get up here, every single initiative that you do generates even more upside. The reason that if you're working on some other stuff like up here, like sales, marketing, expanding LTV, client retention, like things like this, why you're not moving the needle is because it's not made on a strong foundation. These things down here are the foundation, and every single thing here will drive a result and savings and more money to the bottom line. And all the things up here, once this is solid, will produce even more than the upsides that you're getting on them right now. So here's the thing. All of this is good and sounds great. And I know it works because I've done it at dozens of agencies now. Building this foundation is key. I have a full training on actually how to do this. And you'll see it up somewhere. Either the link will be above or below. If you don't see it and you're seeing this somewhere else, please just DM me on LinkedIn and I'll send it over your way. And what that training walks through, it comprehensively walks through how to build out all of this, the entire foundation, how we build out every single one of these boxes and how we go through this and what is the mindset that we need to go through them in, as well as what are the actual levers. So I actually show you real examples of my own agency that we've used to actually build out this entire foundation.